Hey, welcome back to the podcast, Evil Dungeon Masters AD&D Universe Podcast. I'm your host, Evil Dungeon Master Vince. Hopefully you're doing well. It is Wednesday. And today is another day. First, theevildm.com is my website. AskTheDM at theevildm.com is my email address. You can support me by going to patreon.com/theevildm, where you can get some write-ups for various things for basic fantasy or whatever idea I'm doing. And sometimes it's going to be notes from my DM journal, which I try to type in every day and put a little tidbits of games and stuff like that in there. I'm more active on the weeks that I'm actually having a game that I'm running, as opposed to not. I will generally write more in there then, but you get to see what is in there and my thoughts about what I wrote inside Patreon. Anyway, today's topic is going to be talking about a little rule that I found in the Oriental Adventures book on page 52. And it reminded me of a story one time where I actually did something similar to this, and I don't even remember reading this paragraph in the book because I'm always a DM about thinking about outside the box type of thing. Story comes first. The book comes second. I don't really give a crap what the book itself says. If something makes sense to me at the time, that'll help the table out, or the table out meaning the players, or the story out, I will just push it forward and worry about it later, because there's nothing more annoying than sitting there waiting for people to look for a stupid rule. And that's just me. Now, there's people out there that enjoy looking at rules and, getting the correct way to play based on the book and what it says. And that's absolutely fine and perfectly great for your table. If that's what you and your players want to do, then by all means, you do that, other than, whatever else you want to do. For me, it doesn't work, and my group is perfectly fine with that. They're okay with a ruling and then going back later on and discussing it if anybody has objections or, has a major, pin stuck in their craw, whatever the hell they call it. And we discuss it, and then we make decisions going forward on those things. A lot of times you'll hear on the actual plays that I do, I'll say, is that fair? I'll make a decision. I'll say, what do you think, guys? Is that fair? We want to go with this for now. And they'll say, yeah. That's kind of how I handle things. When you listen to the actual plays, you'll see I'll make decisions like that a lot. But on page 52, we had the optional piece proficiency bonuses. It's kind of interesting. I don't remember reading this at all, but if a DM desires, he can award a one-time bonus to character proficiency in a peaceful skill base on the actions of the player, not the character. If the player can provide an example of the skill, such as a piece of Chinese or Japanese poetry that fits the situation, the DM can choose to award a bonus of +1. If the player can actually perform the skill, like write a haiku or whatever, the DM can allow a bonus of +2. This is strictly an optional rule. DMs and players who wish to use this must find their own information about the styles and the forms of various peaceful arts used in the Orient. And now you have to imagine, when this came out in 86, 5, whatever, I think it was 85, I believe. This came out, we really had no internet. We had no, I can just go to Google and figure it out. We had BBSs, bulletin board services, dial-up services. I think we had a little bit of AOL, and we had CompuServe and Prodigy, things like that, along with the BBSs that we connected to locally. But there was no connected internet universe as of really. Maybe, no, I'm trying to think. No, I don't remember it actually being connected to a wider scale like it is today. So for you to research styles and forms of various peaceful arts used in the Orient, you would have to go to your local library and look that stuff up. Or maybe a textbook from school, if you had one like that, or an encyclopedia, or whatever, if you had those in your house. A lot of people had those encyclopedias in their house. Remember those? Some of you older folks out there, yeah, you probably do. But yeah, you wouldn't just lift up your phone and be like, okay, here's haiku, or whatever. No, you would have to actually go and do it. Now, if you were playing the game and you wanted to do this, you would actually have to come prepared. Now, your character is such and such, and maybe you guys are really heavily into an Oriental Adventures campaign. So maybe you decide that since the DM is using this rule because you read it in the book, you prepared a little. You went to the library, you did some research, you grabbed a couple photocopies from the photocopy machine, and you had it ready when your character's turn came up and the situation came up that you used a certain skill and you wanted to get that bonus because, your DM is using this rule. So you read your haiku, or you read your poetry, or you read whatever piece of thing you have, or maybe you display some art, or maybe you went back then in the 80s, it was famous for doing this. You went to the flea market and you bought Chinese stars. I mean, that was the thing that kids did. It was always a bragging thing. Oh, I went and I got this one. Let's see, how many sharp points can you buy on it? How many odd shapes could you find? So maybe you went to the flea market and bought one of those stars and decided to hold it in your pocket and not stab yourself because they didn't come with anything else except you just bought the stars itself. They didn't actually fly right or do anything right, but they were sharp. You held it in your pocket until the right moment, and then you showed it to the DM to get a bonus. I know that's not peaceful, but it is part of the quote unquote culture of the time. And all the ninja movies were popular, so having one of those things around was fine. I mean, I remember people coming to Oriental Game Adventures, and they were dressed like ninjas because their character was a hidden ninja we weren't supposed to know, because you couldn't play a flat out ninja. You had to be a hidden ninja in Oriental Adventures. There was no such thing as just being a flat out straight up ninja, unless you had that type of campaign, which we never did play like that. It was always, you took it as a secondary class hiding under something else. Yeah. But again, it reminded me of a story of when I was playing in Connecticut, and we had this group, and one of the players wanted to, and this is not peaceful, but this kind of is in the same realm of thinking outside the box. The player action affecting the character action. The player wanted to climb up a ladder, roll into the room via the hatch of the ladder, stand up, and stab two guards that were on duty with his back turned. So he wanted the surprise attack. and I was saying, I don't think you could really do that all in one smooth action. Because they were across the room. I mean, you could roll into the room and possibly. And he's like, no, I can do it. I can do it. So I'm like, okay. I said, you can do it personally. He's like, yeah. I said, all right, if you could demonstrate this to me we went into the living room of my friend's house, and she was fine with it. I was like, if you could demonstrate this to me, I'll stand where the guards approximately are, and I want you to do your move from rolling into the room and standing up, and you could do it. I will award you the hit, and I said, I'll even give you a natural 20 on the hit. And he went, okay. So he grabbed two pencils to represent his two daggers that he was going to use, and he got on a chair. He just sat on one of the living room chairs, and he used it to roll himself. Because what I had done was the hatch where they climbed up was a little bit elevated, because that's where I was wondering how he would do it from the ladder. So he used the chair, and he got up. He rolled into the room. He rolled in the room towards me. Then he stood up and did a double stab action move at me and where the other guard would be standing to get the surprise. Now, he actually did it, like legit did it, rolled a good amount of feet from that one little roll. Now, I'm not surprised, because the guy was part of the Coast Guard Academy at the time when I was in Connecticut. He was coastie. So, or they say puddle jumpers. He was in good shape, so he probably easily could do things like that. But you know what? I wanted to see it. Everybody else wanted to see it. He was a very animated guy. So we said, what the hell? We did it. He did it. He got his 20. Everybody cheered. The game moved on. And those are just examples of, if you could do it, you're, as a player, why not grant them a bonus inside the game? So, yeah, this is just an interesting rule that came up when I saw it, and it's not something that a lot of people really talk about. And I don't really see too many DMs when it comes to playing the game award players bonuses based on what they do as a player as opposed to in character. It's always in character, describe what you do or animate what you do, and you get a bonus. But I don't. No one like will give a bonus based on rolling in a room or reciting poetry or something like that. It's just an interesting idea that Gary gave for us to do, and I mean, there's no quick way of really doing it. You can just basically declare what you want to do in plain language and see what it looks like to the DM. It could, I could see it kind of. I can also see this rule kind of making or causing a lot of arguments in the group when it comes to if it qualifies or not, because everybody has their own opinion. Now, the DM always has the final say when it comes to these type of things. It's an optional rule. He doesn't have to use it whatsoever. It says it right there. But it does give the DM the option to use something outside of the box. Now, I think what you should do when it comes to this situation with this outside character or outside player affecting your character is that you should say that you can do it, but the DM has the final say. And if he says no, it's just no. There should be no arguing. There should be no, but. If you really feel that you need that extra boost or whatever opinion, you can always ask your group. I like to ask my group just to be sure that everybody's always happy. I don't want anybody being miserable during the game. So, and my players generally are fair when it comes to making decisions. They'll make a decision, and they've said no in situations where they feel it doesn't sound sensible, even if it went against them. So I know my players are actually solid as far as making fair decisions when it regards the game itself. Maybe your group is like that too. I'm sure quite a few people are like that, especially more mature groups uh, when it comes to those things. Kids, probably not so much. I don't know. Maybe. I don't. Been a long time since I played with kids or been a kid. So, yeah. Tell me what you think in the comments about this. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this rule or outside rulings as far as player actions affecting the actual character itself and how you handle it in your group. TheEvilDM.com is my website. Ask the DM at TheEvilDM.com is my email address. And you can go to patreon.com/TheEvilDM to get your rewards if you want to throw a few bucks to help support me and my endeavors and all the podcasts that I do for the Evil Dungeon Master universe. Yes, that's right. The Evil Dungeon Master universe coming right at you. Gonna head out. Keep it original, keep it old school. Good night. God bless everyone.